Are you feeling overwhelmed, stretched thin, or unsure if you're doing enough? If you're struggling to find balance, prioritize self care, or simply just need some encouragement, this episode is for you. I had the pleasure of sitting down with Morgan, a fellow homeschooling mom of 3 little ones from Tennessee, and we got to dive deep into the crucial topic of self care versus self sabotage and how prioritizing healthy habits can transform your whole family life. Being new to homeschooling myself, I was searching for help and I discovered Morgan and her amazing Homeschool with Excellence course. I loved that the foundation of everything was built around prioritizing healthy habits, and I also love that Morgan is so passionate about helping homeschooling moms find their sweet spot so they can thrive as the heart of their home. This episode is packed with practical advice and heartfelt stories that'll inspire you to create a balanced home life. So grab that cup of coffee and let's dive in. Welcome to Rad Mom Revival, the podcast for busy Christian moms who want to ditch the diet drama, boost their energy, and reclaim their Rad Mom status. I'm your host, Susan Gladstein, aka the Metabolism Maven, and as a mom of 6, I totally get it. The never-ending to-do list, the exhaustion, and that nagging mom guilt anytime you try to take care of yourself. Been there. There is a better way, and I'm here with some mom hacks that are going to rock your world. Together, we'll dive into balancing the chaos, losing weight without losing your mind, and carving out time for yourself and epic adventures. My mission is to help you live and model a healthy lifestyle that your kids and grandkids will thank you for. If you're ready to have so much energy that your kids say, "Mom, you need to chill," then you've found your tribe. So grab your headphones and that never-ending pile of laundry, and let's get started. It's time for a Rad Mom Revival. Ever feel like you're running on empty, barely keeping up with the kids, work, and all of the chaos of life? I get it. I've been there too. But what if you could actually have the energy to power through your day and feel less stressed in just 2 weeks? Sound like something you need? Then you should totally join our 14-day Energy Boost Challenge. You get real-life mom hacks to help you say goodbye to exhaustion and hello to feeling more like yourself again. Join us at radmomrevival.com because your kids get the best when you're at your best. All right. Hey, Morgan.
Hello.
I'm super excited about today because I first met Morgan through Instagram as I was navigating homeschooling and trying to figure out what the heck, curriculum, all the things. And so I saw that she had a course launching and I dove in, and it was so very, very, very helpful to me personally, just really leaning into the strengths that I have and what does that look like? But the thing that stood out most to me, just because health and fitness is such a thing that's near and dear to my heart, it's my passion, is that she really throughout her whole course emphasizes the importance of taking care of yourself as a mom. So I would love to hear from you about your course. How do you make time for yourself? All of the things.
Okay, so I'll start with the struggle version of a day and the good version of a day. So because I talk about self-sabotage versus self-care, right? So because sometimes people dress up self-sabotage as self-care because it feels good in the moment, or it's like, oh, I just need to give myself a break, so I will ... And that's the grabbing the Kit Kat bar, or my kryptonite is staying up late watching Netflix because I'm so burned out after a long day, which gets you in this sick cycle of being up late, staring at a screen. It's one thing to stay up late, doing things, being busy, doing dishes and all that stuff, but staring at a phone screen is it's the screen hangover. I will wake up feeling like a zombie the next day. And that's not to say I don't still fall into this habit, even knowing this after years, but that's the self-sabotage easy button. I am by nature a night owl. So there are some seasons where I just cut my losses, and I do say the days are hard. I don't feel like I can get up before my kids, and I just need this peace after they go to bed for an emotional reset. But then I try to do something like listening to an audiobook or crocheting or even just doing my chores so I can wake up to a good house. If I need that time after they go to bed, it's learning how to spend it well instead of just staring at a screen and starting the hangover cycle. But the ideal day when I'm in my strengths and when I'm like alive or come like to life is, of course, getting up before the kids, spending that quiet time with God, getting in, even if it's just 20 minutes of stretching. I've been really dragging. I was just telling you this. I've been dragging since I had my third kid 3 years ago. So it's finding a new balance. Like I was a college athlete. I was a super go-getter. I love high intensity workouts. I thought my ideal morning was this hard hour workout before I got dive into my day. And honestly, sometimes it is more just 20 minutes of stretching or 20 minutes of one body part weightlifting where I'm not overdoing it, because bite-sized pieces is better than nothing, which you know all this. This is your message, right? Like taking care of the body and make sure you're nourishing it and getting good sleep. But just starting with that, even if I only have an hour before they get up. And then another thing, which me and my husband are really, really big on, is making sure the kids get proper nutrition. I would probably be really lazy about cooking if I was only taking care of myself. But we have noticed such a big difference in their hunger for knowledge and their connection and their like ability to stabilize their moods and all that if we steer clear of the food dyes, the processed foods, and all of that. So even though it's exhausting sometimes, it's worth it to get up before them, to get real protein on the table, get whole foods on the table, start out with some Greek yogurt and nuts and berries and whatever. I've been trying to mix it up a lot, but getting them good food so then we can kind of ease into our day after that. Morning quiet time, good nutritious breakfast. We spend the morning, no matter what the state is of my house, I've learned I ignore the house until after 12:30. So if I didn't get to it, if things were nuts, we just take our school outside. I will literally take them to the park so that I'm not distracted by my house, or find another room. Sometimes we just curl up in my bed and do school, and everything else waits until we do our homeschool time and then chores. And we are hardcore 2 hour quiet time day, 2 hour quiet time every day, people. So I get that 2:30 to 4:30 to reset.
Oh, I love that. I might need to implement that into my day.
It makes a big difference.
Yeah, I love that. One thing that you were talking about is the self-care, self-sabotage, and that sort of delicate balance. And even in your course, you really talked about like you have to take care of you to be the best version of you, which is, obviously part of my message because I think your kids get the best when you're at your best. So
Yeah.
what does that look like for you as far as like some things that you would do for self-care, things that you would caution women against that they might sort of deem as self-care? You touched on that a little bit, but I'd love to dive into that a little bit more.
Yeah. So can I tell a story about how I got there, about where all this came from? So it started with marriage, honestly. I found a relationship coach named Laura Doyle, which I highly recommend, because a lot of the practices that I learned about having healthy relationships with my kids started with learning how to have a healthy relationship with my husband. But it was in the like biggest struggle of motherhood. My husband was at Chibolic, which is 12 weeks of army training, and I had a 4-year-old, a 3-year-old, and a 3-month-old, and I was drowning. And then he stopped sleeping. The 3-month-old stopped sleeping. So I was like on my last wire, like literally having emotional breakdowns and struggling. But my mom came up to watch the kids for me so that I could go visit my husband for a weekend. And as I was going out to visit him, I was like, okay, I don't want to be in this like emotional hangover dragging state I get to see him for 24 hours. I want to make the most of it. So I was like looking for some encouragement or some marriage advice so that I could like get in a different frame of mind. That's when I found her. And in her book, she talks about like self-care is the first thing that she suggests to everybody. And my instant reaction was like, oh no, that's selfish. This is just a feminist talking. Like she's just trying to sabotage my marriage by making me all self-centered. And this is for people who are married to weak men who like just kiss their feet. I immediately was like, no, this is bad advice. So then I get there and I'm telling my husband about all the points that she says. And I was like, she says every husband just wants her woman to be happy, and like they don't really have as many expectations as we say in our head, and we're just driving ourselves crazy. And he's like, yeah, that's a really good point. He's like, I just want you. He said, you don't understand. I work so hard, and my image for you is just to be at home in your fuzzy slippers laughing with the kids. He's like, I don't want you to work yourself into the ground. So I'm always like bullet pointing him all how hard it is and all the work I have to do, thinking I'm going to gain some respect there. And he's like, really, all I want is for you to be happy. Like, find that happy balance. Of course, the work needs to be done, but I don't want to compete with you. Like, I'm working hard because I want you to find rest. And my mind was just blown because I thought he was going to say this self-care thing was selfish as well. And when he latched onto it and was like, no, he said, honestly, I just don't want to be married to a martyr. And I was like, whoa, that is like, I know those women. And I didn't think I was playing that role. But the more I started self-evaluating, it's like, yeah, I'm being a martyr to my kids. I'm being a martyr to my husband. And nobody wants to hear your list of responsibilities and hear how good you are for always being in task mode. Kids want a fun mom, and you get to be there by giving yourself permission to have some fun. So her suggestion is making a happy list of 10 things that make you happy. And that transformed my days. It was like, just gratitude is one thing. She says, drop and give me 10 gratitudes. But another one is things that make you happy that you can look forward to. So it's like you're being grateful for it before you even get to it. And when you plan for these fun things, like I just love a good cup of coffee and my favorite mug. Like I have a mug obsession. So whenever I get bored with my mugs, I give myself permission to go get a new one. I have a deal with my husband. If I get a new one, I have to get rid of an old one because we don't want mugs taking over the house. But that's just one of the little things that makes me happy. And because I've acknowledged it, it makes it that much more exciting. Because when I'm in the store, I'm like, ooh, this is my thing that like brings sparkle to my day. And I really love being outside. So it's like, I realized I'm doing school with my kids, but there's no reason why I can't take it outside. Once you start acknowledging those things that make you happy, you realize I've been punishing myself needlessly. And it's actually very easy to just flip the switch and incorporate these fun things that make me light up into my day that I'm doing already. So we take school to the park probably 4 out of 5 days because I love being in the sun. It makes them happier, and you just become a more pleasant person.
I I love that. One thing that I really appreciated about going through your course was that very thing, like really giving myself permission to ask like the things that I enjoy and what makes me happy, because I've been so used to worrying about everybody else that you almost forget who you are outside of motherhood or what you enjoy that
Yeah.
doesn't involve your kids. And so for me, like thinking back to when I was a kid, it was like I would spend hours dancing in my
Oh,
wherever in my
that's
front
so
yard.
beautiful.
Like who drives by and sees this weird kid dancing in the front yard? But that was me. And so, and there was a long time I was in a verbally and emotionally abusive marriage where I stopped dancing because I was just made fun of
Mm.
for doing it. Well, now it's like I love incorporating, and I have random spastic dance parties with my whole family. Like
Aw.
everybody jumps in, my husband included. And so that was one thing that I was like, wow, I really look forward to incorporating that into my homeschool day. So like Emma and I jam out thanks to you and your recommendations of like really tuning in to what makes me happy. So thank you.
Oh, yeah, that's so good to hear. That's actually a big part of our homeschool day too. We'll do like 30 minutes of lesson and then 10-minute dance party. And like their favorite thing is picking what songs we're listening to as a reward for the dance party. It is a lot
And
of fun.
I do love that because I like music is such a powerful part of who I am. I think all of us to a core, it's like why they recommend if you want a good playlist to like work out to or walk to, like
Yeah.
go to whatever you were listening to, like your when you started driving, like that will instantly take you back to a memory of freedom and all of these things and make you happy. And so it's been so fun to like incorporate that into Emma, like intentionally.
And now she's going to be a little kid who has all these beautiful memories of dancing with her mom. And it's going to be this special thing that she does with her daughter. It's just so fun how something so simple that takes no money, almost no energy, because it's energy giving, can completely transform the atmosphere in your home. You've said it a few times. Really big mindset shift for me was when I see my husband as the head of the home and I am the heart of the home. And a lot of times as women, we drain all of our energy that's supposed to be pumping lifeblood into our family because we're trying to act as the head. Like we're nervous, we're fearful, and we think we have to make all these decisions. And the more we take that responsibility on, the more we cut our husband down, the more we don't have energy to be the heart of the home. And then you get that marriage friction But the more I've let go of the reins and like, oh, that's not my job. Oh, I don't have to control that. Oh, actually, he's really good at controlling that. And when I was trying to, I was doing a horrible job and causing my family pain. And now that I'm like letting go of the reins, I have a lot more energy to be the heart of the home, which gives life to my husband and gives life to my kids. And I think flipping that switch is part of what gave me permission to do the things that were fun, because I still felt guilty even after he said that. It's like, man, I want a bubble bath every weekend, but I feel guilty asking him to watch the kids so I can go take a bubble bath. Or like there's just so much guilt around setting down responsibilities to do something forwardly fun. But when it's like, when you can accept that doing that fun thing actually is for your family, as long as it's not the self-sabotage route. When you're going down that staying up late or alcohol or eating junk that's actually draining you, you're not feeding your heart. You are killing your heart for these easy buttons. And those things I do not count. I think those are selfish. Or when you are fueling yourself to the detriment of your kids. Like there are situations where moms put their kids on the back burner, or where they're spending money on things that they shouldn't be spending money on because it feels good. There's a version of it that's selfish, but you just have to ask, is this fueling my heart and fueling my bigger goal, to where the core reason is service? And that's where you get the self-care versus sabotaging you and everybody around you.
Well, and I know for me personally, like I really realized how sucked into my phone I was,
Yeah.
like transitioning into this homeschooling space. And, Emma's asking about like, well, I want a phone or I want a tablet. I'm like, well, no, you can't have one. Well, why do you have one? And then I was like, and even just taking 30 days, I mean, I still have the apps in the background. So if my clients needed something, I could see it. But I just realized instinctively how much I was going to that and how much attention I wasn't giving to her and being very present, because I was mindlessly scrolling or doing, those quick dopamine hits that you get. So that's been my biggest kind of eye opener. And even now that I've sort of come back on social media, I'm like trying to not fall into old habits again. I
Yeah.
recently heard about a woman that just keeps her phone in airplane mode and then just like answers emails in a time block. And so I'm like, I need this. Like
Yeah.
that's what I
Yes.
need. So yesterday I started doing kind of a time block and just, okay, this is the time I'm going to work out, because I've transitioned from working to coming home. And when I was working, I had a very structured appointments. You have to get things
Yeah.
done. And now that it's kind of a little bit more free, it's like, I almost don't know what to do with myself with the
Yep.
freedom, So in some ways, like I really want to block priorities. And it sounds like you have a really good sort of structure for that when you talked about like your home tours and things, like you're not going to stress about it in the morning. Whereas like when I wake
Yeah.
up and if things are not put away, like I starts like having a
Yeah.
skits out thing or something. So
Yeah.
what would
It
you
is.
recommend to moms, like just in their priorities, and how do you balance all of that?
Yeah, you're hitting on a really big one, because I don't know if I told you, I was an auditor for a bank. So like my whole job was order and details and organization, but I was given a framework to work in and I thrived. But then you take away that framework and it's like, wow, left to my own devices, I'm not a scheduled person. I'm not good at creating the protocol. I'm not good at creating the routine. It's like, if you give me the rules, I love following them. But now I have my own house. There's no rules. There's no one telling me when to get up. There's no one telling me what to cook for dinner. It's like all the freedom, and I was drowning in the freedom because there was no clarity. Like I had no clarity, and all I could see was I have 100 things to do, and I struggled even to figure out what needed to be done first. So I was like always doing the thing that didn't need to be done first, or putting out fires, or that whole concept of now it's all on my plate and I don't know what to tackle or when to tackle is, I think, probably the biggest load we carry when we shift to stay-at-home moms. Like there's just a big lack of clarity. So, I mean, my biggest advice to start with is honestly having a conversation with your husband, because as the head of the household, he's gonna have a lot of guidance for you as far as, and even if he doesn't, you guys agree together, like sort out the family priorities, figure out where your energy is best spent. Every single time I'm like at my breaking point or overwhelmed and I call him and I'm like, I'm stressed, I've got da 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 da. He's like, well, the last 5 things you listed actually don't need to be done. That's like you putting extra stuff on your plate. And then steps 1, 2, 4, well, 1 and 2 can be done together. 3 can wait another month, and I'll take 4 off your plate. Like he just gives me so much peace immediately. So yeah, my first advice is to talk to your husband to get some clarity on what actually is important. And then from there, I write everything down. I have that planner that is like, I think it's the planner for ADD moms, because I need something beautiful. I need it all mapped out. I need my space to dump it all out. And then like from there, I pick and choose of like, okay, this actually needs to go into the planner. This is urgent. This is not urgent. This is important. This is not important. I needed to scale it all out. And my other big thing is it has to be somewhere where I can see it, so that it's not a mental load. Like if you're trying to carry all of the load in your brain, you're going to be running at like 30% capacity, because it's exhausting trying to keep it all up there and not let anything fall. So I put it all in my planner, and then I actually put it all up on my whiteboard, so that all I have to do is like, I know everything found a spot during the week, everything that I need to get to found a spot during the week. And all I have to do is look at today's. And as long as I get those done, I get to just have fun the rest of the day. If I knock it all out by noon, then it's just playtime the rest of the day. So that's kind of my process for sorting through the chaos, because left to my own devices, I live in chaos and it is very stressful.
Well, and I think too, like culturally as women, we are told that we need to like wear busyness as a badge of honor.
Yeah.
You're doing it wrong if you're not busy. And even for me, like transitioning, I almost feel a little bit guilty when I am going and playing and my husband's working, and I feel bad about that.
Yeah.
And I could beat myself up about that all day long, like putting in these expectations or things that I think he's feeling, when in reality, if I were to ask him, and I have, it's basically like, I love that you're home. I love that you guys are having this experience. And you know what? I would say the same to him if the roles were reversed. Like I would want him to have fun and be relaxed and cool and not tend
Yeah.
all of the things. So I think sometimes we can beat ourselves up or think that things have to be a certain way, or someone's thinking something that, but even if you just switch the lens to think like, if the roles were reversed, of course, I would want my husband to be healthy and happy and all of those things, right? Like I would
Yeah.
never take that from him. I would never want to take that from my kids. So like, why do I put that burden on myself?
Yeah. And looking at the reverse too is always really clarifying for me. Like when you know somebody who is so stressed because they are constantly in task mode and they're constantly letting you know how much they have to do, like, is that person fun to be around? Is that person someone that is life-giving, or is that someone you want to have really close intimacy with? Those are usually the people that we kind of repel a little bit. And it's like, I see that when it's a friend, but when it's me, I feel like, yeah, it's a badge of honor to stay in that mode. As long as I'm working really hard, then I guess, what is that? Looking for validation, or that's where I'm finding my worth from working. Yeah, it's been, even after that. I mean, that light bulb moment for me was 3 years ago, and my husband's done nothing but affirm this whole thing of like, I want you happy. I want you to take care of yourself. And the more I've gotten used, another thing that I used to do a lot was like get mad that he wouldn't schedule things for me that I had never told him that I wanted, or like I'd make hints and then, well, if you loved me, you would find time for me to go do this thing. So I've gotten a lot better at communicating, like, I really want to go get my hair done on this week. And he'll be like, yes or no, like we can do that or we can. And if we can, he wants to make it happen for me. So as I've gotten better at communicating, things have trended in the positive direction, but it's been a lot of work to get rid of that guilt. And he called me a few weeks ago and I was taking a nap in the middle of the afternoon. And like, I missed his call. I woke up from my nap and I realized like, man, I actually just truly rested in the middle of the day. And I called him with tearful gratitude that he'd been up since he was the one that got up at 4 o'clock in the morning, drove 2 hours to work. He'd been driving all day. I woke up at like 8 o'clock and needed a nap by 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And I was just like, I'm humbled to be taken, so that you're taking such good care of me that I can take a nap in the middle of the day and not feel guilty of it. And his response was, that's what I've always wanted for you. Where's your fuzzy slippers? make sure you're super relaxed.
I love that. Well, thank you for coming on and sharing your heart and passion for helping women just be the heart of their home and helping homeschool moms get like organized and find their true strengths. So thank you for what you're doing, because you are making a big impact in the world. Is there anything else that you would want to, that we didn't talk about, that you want to touch on before we finish out?
I think just another big one is that we have a tendency to think self-care has to be separate from the kids. Like I had this whole mentality of I really want to get a workout, so someone needs to watch my kids for me so I can get a good workout in. Or I really just want to go, I love browsing the bookstore, so I need someone to take my kids so I can browse the bookstore. A big shift for me has been including them in those things. Like when they work out with me, when I show them how much I love the bookstore and the smell of the new pages, having them fall in love with the things that I love has made my life so much easier. And it's a lot of fun when you're just kind of, it's like you're building your own little gang. Like you get to build a club of people who are naturally going to love what you love.
That's
So I
super.
would just encourage that.
I love that. Yeah, Emma's been working out and critiquing my things since, the day she was born and able to talk. And even yesterday we went and got mani-pedis together and she's
Oh,
very into her sparkly nail polish. So it has
yeah.
been fun, like incorporating some of the stuff that I love doing to like treat yourself,
Yeah.
with her for sure. I love that. That's awesome. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, appreciate you. And I'll make sure to put all your information in the show notes on where to find you and your amazing course and that beautiful planner that I use to plan out the whole rest of the school year lesson. So thank you so much. And we'll talk to you soon.
All right. Sounds good. Thank you.
Hey there, thanks for tuning in to Rad Mom Revival. I hope you're feeling inspired and ready to reclaim your Rad Mom status. If you enjoyed the show, do me a favor, subscribe and leave me a review and share it with your mom friends who desperately need some me time. I'd totally be honored if their me time was spent hiding in the bathroom listening to this podcast. I'd also love to get connected if we aren't already. Find me on social media and join our awesome tribe at radmomrevival.com. Until next time, keep embracing the chaos, finding joy in the little things, and living your best Rad Mom life.
Thanks for listening.